The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead in the Willowbrook Elementary auditorium, casting a sterile glow over the circle of metal chairs arranged with unsettling symmetry. PTA meetings were usually dull affairs filled with discussions of bake sales and field trips. But not tonight. Tonight, there was a hush in the air, a heavy silence pregnant with tension, punctuated only by the occasional rustle of papers or the squeak of a sneaker against linoleum. At the center of it all sat Principal Doreen Cutter, flanked by the PTA President, June Halloway, and new Board Secretary, Lila Torres. Across from them, arms folded tightly, was Mason Beck, the newly divorced father who had caused quite a stir by joining the PTA just a month ago. To his left sat Rebecca Lynn, the math teacher and teacher representative, who rarely spoke during these meetings. 5 people. 5 votes. One proposal that had shaken the community to its core. June cleared her throat. Let's bring it to order. We're here to decide on the extracurricular funds reallocation plan. As you all know, the proposal diverts $8,000 from this year's sports budget to fund the new STEM Enrichment Lab. This plan was drafted with full support from our academic subcommittee. Mason scoffed. Would you chair? June smiled tightly. Correct. And while sports are important, we believe this shift supports long-term goals. Principal Cutter spoke for the first time. Let's not make this personal. We're here for the kids. Lila nodded. I vote yes. June chimed in. Yes. Rebecca hesitated. I abstain. I have concerns about transparency, but I'm not opposing it either. Mason's eyes narrowed. No. Strong no. All eyes turned to Principal Cutter. She glanced at the others, then back down at her notes. I vote yes. The proposal passed, 3 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. Mason stood slowly. That's it, then? Just like that? June's voice was syrupy. That's democracy. But as the meeting adjourned and chairs scraped against the floor, Mason remained rooted. His expression darkened. It's not over, he muttered. Later that night, Lila sat at her kitchen table, staring at a spreadsheet on her laptop. Her inbox pinged with a new message. From anonymous PTA at protonmail.com. Subject: STEM fraud. Attached was a PDF, scanned bank statements, emails, even a photo of June holding a check next to a man in a business suit. The timestamp was from 2 weeks before the proposal even reached the board. A line of sweat formed at Lila's temple. Someone had just cracked the lid open on something far bigger than she'd expected. And someone else wanted it to stay closed. Lila Torres didn't sleep that night. The emails, the photo, the anonymous message, it kept playing in her mind on an endless loop. She had always considered her role on the PTA as a way to connect with the community, to help the kids. She hadn't signed up for a conspiracy. The next morning, she called Mason. I need to meet. Just us. They chose a public spot, the corner booth at McClellan's Cafe, a place known for its cinnamon rolls and over-caffeinated patrons. Lila slid her laptop toward Mason and opened the folder marked Anonymous. He scrolled through the emails, pausing at a digital receipt showing an $8,000 deposit from a company called EduTech Solutions, wired to June's personal account. This isn't just shady, Mason muttered. It's criminal. What do we do? Lila asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mason leaned back. We need to know who else is involved. June didn't do this alone. Meanwhile, in her office, Principal Cutter clicked her pen nervously. Her inbox was bloated with questions from concerned parents after news of the vote began to circulate. Whispers were growing louder. When she received a call from an unlisted number, she nearly dropped the phone. Doreen, said a smooth voice. You've got a problem. Mason Beck is asking questions. He's poking around. Who is this? Doesn't matter. But you better find a way to shut him up, or June's not the only one who'll be exposed. The line went dead. Rebecca Lynn returned to her classroom after lunch to find an envelope taped to her desk. No name. Inside were screenshots, one she recognized from the PTA budget meetings. One was of her notes from a closed session, suggesting a temporary suspension of sports funding before the STEM plan had even been formally introduced. Rebecca stared at the final image, a text thread between her and June, joking about how predictable the jocks and dumb dads would be. She flushed. Her silence had bought her neutrality, until now. That evening, Mason and Lila met again, this time with a plan. We leak it, Mason said. The files, the vote, everything. Too dangerous, Lila replied. We go to Rebecca first. She abstained. She might flip. They arranged to meet her at the local library under the pretense of forming a budget oversight subcommittee. Rebecca arrived tense and withdrawn. Before we start, Lila said, there's something we need to show you. She opened her laptop and pulled up the folder. Rebecca's eyes widened at the images. Where did you get these? Anonymous tip, Mason said. And we think more's coming. Rebecca looked around nervously. If June finds out I talked to you, she already knows you're vulnerable, Lila said gently. It's time to stop protecting her. Rebecca hesitated, then reached into her purse and handed over a thumb drive. I didn't open it. June gave it to me. Said it was a draft of the STEM donor proposal. Mason plugged it into his laptop. It wasn't a proposal. It was a ledger. A coded spreadsheet showing withdrawals, deposits, and names, some of them board members, others parents. Even a company labeled WBE Logistics, which Lila recognized as a front for another education nonprofit run by June's brother-in-law. This is a money laundering scheme, Mason whispered. Through the PTA. Rebecca's voice trembled. I didn't know. I swear. Lila sat back, stunned. We have to tell Cutter. But before they could move, Mason's phone buzzed. Unknown number, nice try. Stop digging, or your son's disciplinary file becomes public. Mason's face went cold. How did they get my kid's file? Lila's heart dropped. We're not just dealing with fraud. We're dealing with blackmail. Across town, June Holloway sat in her home office, swirling a glass of red wine. Her phone buzzed. Anonymous PTA, they're getting close. Do you want me to release the insurance claim from 2021? June responded quickly. No. Not yet. Keep watching. I want to know who the snitch is. She clicked on her desktop, opening a private server link. A photo popped up, Mason at McClellan's, speaking to Lila. Then another, Rebecca, entering the library. She leaned back and smiled. I love a good cleanup. Willowbrook Elementary's annual open house was supposed to be a celebration of community, not the setting for an expose. Parents filed in with polite smiles and gift baskets, students darted around in their Sunday best, and teachers nervously arranged project displays in their classrooms. But for 5 people, the evening would mark a point of no return. Lila Torres stood outside the multipurpose room, heart pounding under her cardigan. Her fingers clutched a flash drive inside her coat pocket, the same one that Mason had decrypted the night before. It contained everything: the falsified financial documents, June's secret accounts, the donor scams, and the digital fingerprints of all involved. Now it was backed up and timestamped. She wasn't here to make threats. She was here to end it. She spotted Rebecca Lynn approaching, pale and visibly shaken. Did you bring it? Lila asked softly. Rebecca nodded, revealing a printed letter in her handbag. A resignation. With a detailed account of what I witnessed. I also included the minutes from the private budget session June asked me to delete. They exchanged a look, part fear, part resolve. Inside, the air buzzed with pleasantries. June Holloway was in full PTA president mode, laughing too loudly and hugging parents as if nothing was crumbling beneath her feet. She caught sight of Lila and smiled with razor-edged cheer. Glad you made it, June purred. Let's keep things positive tonight, shall we? Lila didn't respond. She kept walking until she found Mason near the STEM display. He was leaning against the table like a soldier awaiting orders. It's tonight, he said. Tonight, Lila agreed. She has no idea. She has every idea, he replied. She's watching everyone. She already sent someone to follow me and my son after school yesterday. I filed a police report anonymously. Lila's face twisted. What? She's escalating. But if we pull this off, it ends here. At 6:30 p.m. sharp, Principal Cutter took the stage with a forced smile and began the usual opening remarks. June flanked her, nodding along with every line, as if her reputation hadn't begun to rot beneath her pearls. Halfway through, Cutter introduced the new STEM lab, prompting June to step up and take the mic. Thanks to the hard work of this board and our generous donors, we've raised enough to launch a full-year robotics initiative for our upper grades. This is the kind of innovation we're proud to support. Polite applause. Then a new voice echoed across the sound system. Funny you mentioned donors, June. Gasps. All heads turned toward the back of the room, where Mason had slipped into the AV booth. On screen, the projector, previously showing photos of science projects, now displayed a bank statement. "Let's talk about where the donations really went," Mason said. June's face froze. Lila stepped up beside her. "These aren't allegations. These are documents. Wire transfers. Internal memos. Personal messages between June and a vendor run by her brother-in-law. Money meant for kids funneled into fake contracts." June lunged toward the mic. "Turn that off." But Rebecca stepped forward, holding a folder. "I've submitted my resignation to the district board, along with a full report," she announced. "I can no longer condone what's happening in this school." Principal Cutter's expression had crumbled into one of horror. "June, is this true?" June's eyes darted to the exit. "This is slander. Fabricated garbage cooked up by a disgruntled parent." But then Camilla Hart appeared, stepping out from the crowd with a press badge around her neck. "Oh, I don't think so," she said. "We've been tracking these financial irregularities for months. My story goes live tonight. You'll be trending by morning." Someone in the crowd shouted, "You stole from our kids." June turned red, then pale. Security arrived, prompted by Cutter's discreet signal. June tried to bolt, but Mason was already blocking the exit. A policeman entered through the rear door. "I think you'll want to come with us," he said, producing a warrant. June didn't struggle. She simply stared at Lila with venom. "This won't save your son." Lila didn't flinch. "It'll save a school." 1 week later, news vans lined the curb outside Willowbrook. PTA corruption scandal unfolds had become a national headline. June Holloway had been charged with fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy to defraud a public institution. Investigations into the nonprofit and its shell companies had begun. Rebecca was now on administrative leave but cooperating with prosecutors. She'd been granted whistleblower protection. Principal Cutter announced her early retirement, effective immediately. Mason declined interviews. He focused on his son, who'd finally smiled for the first time in weeks. Lila was offered the PTA presidency. She declined. "Power's not the point," she told Camilla, who had returned with her camera crew for a final segment. "Accountability is." As they stood on the school steps, Camilla asked one last question. "Would you do it again?" Lila looked out at the playground, now full of laughing kids. "Absolutely," she said. "But next time, I'm bringing receipts on day one."